people will make. Lovely to see you, thanks.
Now, the pain and horror of suffering burns can be life-changing, but for victims, it's not just the accident itself, it's the treatment that prolongs discomfort and anguish. Dressing wounds and changing bandages can be so distressing. So, how do you distract a patient?
Well, this is something that researchers at Sheffield Hallam University has found has helped patients, actually. They found that patients who wore virtual reality headsets like this one that Dan is wearing, we can now see what Dan is saying, during their treatment felt less pain. One of the patients told us how the trial had helped her.
It was an intense burning sensation that it just made you feel like it was just going further and further into your skin and deeper.
Hello Megan, you alright?
Last November, Megan Moxon suffered severe burns to her legs when a washing up bowl filled with boiling water fell into her lap. The 19-year-old's injuries needed regular dressing changes, which she found extremely painful.
So if you can pop this on.
Megan was invited to take part in a new trial to see whether playing specifically designed games in the immersive world of virtual reality, or VR, might help with the pain.
Without the VR, I've been nearly in tears because it's that painful. But with the VR, Michelle would be able to prod it, poke it, put a bit of pressure on it, and I wouldn't feel a thing.
One day, a virtual world could help those with pain in the real world. Jamie Coulson, BBC News.
Well, we can see it really made a difference to her. One of the researchers... Oh, Dan is now wearing this virtual reality headset. Yeah. One of the researchers involved in the trial is Ivan Phelan, who's joining us alongside neuroscientist Dr. Faisal Mushtaq. Morning. Thank you both very much for joining us. Just explain to us, would you, what my lovely co-presenter is doing right now.
Hello, everyone.
So with the VR headset, it's very immersive, so you actually feel like you're in a different kind of space. So when you're getting the burn treatments done, you're actually not seeing what's happening, but you're kind of engaged in a video game. So he's looking at a basketball game at the moment.
And that what we can see on our screens now is what Dan is seeing with his virtual reality headset. So just explain to us, Dr. Faisal, if you could, what's going on with your brain when you're feeling pain and when you're watching one of these?
So as you know, sort of intuitively, when you have this experience of pain, it's all-encompassing from an attention perspective. So that's pretty much all you can concentrate on at that moment in time when you go into sort of acute pain. So what the virtual reality starts to do is it starts to compete for that attention. So in the brain, you've essentially started to take away from those resources that are involved in processing the pain, and you start to dedicate them towards processing the information in the environment.
And you found what the more difficult does the game need to be difficult in order to relieve pain more, as it were?
It depends on the person, really. So we found some people really like competitive games, and that helped with the pain a lot more. Whereas people that wanted a more kind of puzzle-based kind of game, they found that better. So we had 2 different games we made.
Have you been listening to this conversation, Dan?
Pardon? No, I'm really trying hard to listen to what you're saying, but I've got music on in these earphones as well, and in all honesty, I've been entirely distracted by this, which I suppose, gentlemen, is exactly the point.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that distraction element, so overwhelming the senses with the visual and the auditory sort of information.
And have you found various different people have tried this, haven't they? Yeah. What have you found makes most difference?
So we found that we tried it against passive as well, so that's like just watching it like a 360 video, and against the interactive, and we found a huge difference with the interactive against the passive. Like, it was much more engaging, and they were kind of, some people were even laughing while doing their treatments, which we weren't expecting.
Right, and have people asked, for example, to be able to use this while they're having treatment?
So yeah, we had one patient who was like, I'd really like to keep this for all the rest of my trials, or treatments. Like, one person as well she didn't want to use it initially, and the treatments, her medication wasn't really working. So then she said she would, and then after using it, she said, I wish I did this from the beginning.
Could it be used, do you think, Dr. Faisal, on other... Are you okay?
Yes, brilliant.
Are you back with us?
No, I'm back in the room.
Could it be used for other, for this has been used particularly for burns victims, could it be used for other different types of pain?
Yeah, so there's research going on. I think Ivan is involved in some of this around chronic pain, so lower back pain, for example, sort of completely sort of debilitating. So yeah, absolutely. So the potential there for disrupting those typical attentional mechanisms related to pain is a pretty compelling sort of evidence case there.
I was trying to listen to what you were saying, but were you talking about? It really is attractive, but in a good way. We talk about how you can do different games and they can appeal to sort of different people, because that sort of thing. It was right up my street. And you could have punched me in the leg halfway through that.
Lots of people were saying I should have pinched you, but I just felt too bad.
Well, he's a nice person, aren't you? But it really worked. Once you've immersed in the music as well, and then the addictive element of trying to score in the different baskets looking around.
There's a lot of different things happening, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It totally takes your mind off things.
Totally, yeah.
How much of it is, because you're playing the game, so that's distracting your brain. Also, you can't see what's going on and you can't hear. That's helping,
It makes a big difference. We did try to see having the headset on was something very relaxing.
Yes.
And we found it didn't help nearly as
Really?
much. So it's that
Right,
engagement
okay.
factor is a huge part of it.
Did Louise ask you about where you can take it next? What's the?
Yeah, so we talked about chronic pain.
I was trying to listen.
He's off his say it again for Dan's benefit.
So chronic pain, for example, rather than just the acute short-term sort of nature of that, over a longer period of time where painkillers perhaps have lost their efficacy, maybe you can sort of help support that using these types of interventions.
He does try and listen.
Yeah. You should have a go. It's a really clever idea, and great to see that it's used in a way that could genuinely help people.
Thank you very much. Thanks both. What can we tell you about? Watchdog Live returns for a new series on BBC1 tonight. An investigation by the shows discovered refrigerated food had been left out for up to 14 hours without being put in